So picking up where we left off, we have the main ceremony, and we've cut out shaky footage and things that we don't want to use, basically turning this into, I don't even know how long it is. The main ceremony runs for, there we go, 32 minutes. So 32 minutes of footage that we are going to use. We would have gotten the same result by scrubbing through the footage and choosing pieces we wanted and stuck them in the timeline. But what we gained now is that everything is lined up, both with the secondary camera and with its respective audio. We're going to begin assembling this now into a final edit, and the important things to keep in mind here are, number one, everything that happens is important and significant, so we can't skip any events. We may shorten some, and we have to be very careful how we do it, but we definitely can't skip anything. And when we do decide to shorten something, it has to be done in a way that it doesn't look like we purposely cut something out. We can't have a bride and a groom coming back to us saying, "Why did you skip that? Can we see the whole thing?" So skipping has to be done creatively. I like to refer to it better as creatively shortening. The other thing to keep in mind is that, as a general rule, the audio that goes along with the various footage will have to stay there. You're going to see in a later video when we do dancing how we can sometimes move things around on the timeline, and over here we're going to be a little bit more limited. So the song that the groom walks down to, it needs to be played when we see him walking down. The song that the bride walks down to needs to be played when we see her walking down. It can't be used during something else. There are going to be times where the band was a little bit off. They were still playing a song and the next event had started, or they, things might have been a little bit off in live, and we're going to have to put them back right in the editing. And just as important, obviously, if you see someone in the video saying something, the rabbi or someone giving a blessing or the groom actually saying words, obviously the audio needs to correspond exactly. So with that, let's begin. We have these few clips over here of the bride and groom getting ready. Alright, and we have this piano music that they played. It's Pachelbel's canon, but it's fine. So we'll use that music, that's nice. And again, we're not worrying about volume just yet, so let's begin with what we want our setup shots to be. So we're going to start with that. I'm looking for things that are, we'll call them details of the wedding ceremony. So I don't necessarily want guests at this point. I want, there we go, details of the canopy, and a close-up of the canopy. Okay, we're going to save guests for later. So. This clip I actually want to play in reverse because I'd rather reveal the canopy itself. So we have the flowers here, and then we'll do it from a different perspective. And we'll go from there into the bride getting ready. I'm going to skip this clip of her leaving the room, I think. So we'll get this clip of the groom. I don't need the whole thing, I need a little bit of the blessing and mainly that hug and kiss is important. So alright, and cut with the music. Then we're gonna get a shot of the bride. So and let's see what we have here. Maybe we'll use both shots of the bride there. Alright, then we'll go from there to the groom with his mom. Well, this is the groom's mom right here, so we gotta sort of, we're gonna have to cut with something, so how about a shot of the crowd? We're just trying to tell a story, so we're watching the bride get ready, we're watching the groom get ready, we're watching the crowd slowly get settled in. What else do we have here? We're going to skip this first hug, as nice as it is, because we have it again after she gives a blessing. And it's just as nice, and we don't necessarily need both. So. Right, and you can see in the corner this next person coming in, and that's the next shot here. So that we'll skip that that point where the camera zooms in and just use the steady part. And okay, now I don't want to go from just this person standing here to a different person standing there. So we're going to use a detail shot. I don't need that shot. I need the blessing shot as the more important of the two. Right, and then we'll use the few more crowd shots that I have. Right, and we'll cut that there, and we're gonna make it fade into the music that the groom walks down to, so let's see. Okay, so we have this shot of girls over here. It's not the same shot as these. So we're gonna get rid of the audio from these clips. All I need from here is the video. Oops. I want the audio track that was recorded along with it, and we're gonna make that go right up to this clip here. Put that right there. We're gonna fade these two audios into each other. I'm gonna make it a nice long slow fade. That's the key over here, is that it's gonna be slow. Let's shift this all over, remember, with this audio piece, to a point after those people walk by. Well, there's more people walking by. So we'll shift it over to here. Anyway, I don't need such a long break. So we're going to use the part from here to here. We'll use this over here. And this, with this piece of audio, is going to go right up to there. This whole piece we're not going to use, so now it goes like this. Let's put that fade back in, and I want the transition to happen during this clip, but towards the end of it. So here we go. Now, I could just show this over here where nothing happens, but I don't want to. That doesn't serve any purpose. I'm going to use this part where he turns the corner. I think that's nice. So what we want to try to do here is we need to use the song that he actually walked down to. Very often the groom himself will choose this song, and respectively the bride will choose the song she walks down to. So it's something that's important to them, and we want to make sure to always use at least one high and one low of that song. It's a song they like, we want to feature it. Obviously the available footage is going to be less than the time it actually took for them to walk down, so we're going to shorten it. But we want to make sure to pick a segment of the song that contains a low and a high. And I know for sure that I want this turning the corner, but I don't want me running to the front in it, so we're going to start where he's covering me. And we're going to move that over to there. This bit here I'm not going to use, so now we have a tool that's the letter B on the keyboard is the shortcut. That didn't work. Let's get rid of that. We should be able to just pull this. No, it's not doing it. Okay, we'll do this manually. I was going to try to take a shortcut. Put the transition back in there, and once we sort of get this started, it'll go a little smoother. Let's see how we did. I want to make sure that my cuts happen on beat with the music. This clip, we are going to try and stabilize, and normally I wait till the end to stabilize, but this is the kind of clip where if warp stabilizer does not work, I may choose to take it out, and I don't want to get too far into this edit without knowing that it's going to work. So we're going to let that process, and we're going to check it again in just a minute. Alright, see how that works? He's coming in over here. You can't really tell where he is in the room, so this could very well be the next shot. Remember, as long as things make sense, we can move them around. Alright, and that's really nice. We start to see him walk down. I don't like to overuse the second camera, but I do feel that it worked and it added over there. So I'm going to go ahead and use it. And it allows us to stretch this footage right up to the point where he is, where the music actually stopped. One thing to note, well, in this specific wedding I did not do that, but in most of my weddings this second camera is shooting in 4K, and the 4K shots allows us to zoom in and zoom out and make artificial slides, and you could do cool stuff. This specific one was actually shot in HD, and so we're a little bit more limited with what we could do with it. Okay. Alright, so now the next thing that happens is a song where it is a blessing for the groom. And obviously we're not going to have enough footage. The song goes from here to here. Obviously we're not going to have enough footage to cover that. So the key here is to get in the full blessing. Most likely the singer, cantor, or the singer, or sibling in some cases, is going to sing this blessing in the form of a song, and there will be 2 lows and 2 highs. And as long as we get in all the words, we can skip out 1 low and skip out 1 high. So first we're going to scout out and see what we have available. This is the intro line, that's important. We're going to turn off the video so it's not disturbing right now. And just listening to the audio. Okay, that little interlude will be able to come out. Let's fast forward a little bit. Okay, so he only sang 1 round of the low part. Let's see what he did for the high part. Alright, and he does sing 2 highs, but it's short. So I'm going to see if we can keep it. We do have some footage. Let's turn the cameras back on. We do have some footage after the song was formally over. Right, these sweeping shots with only the groom. We can't use those later once the bride walks down. So this is the only time that these few shots are going to get to be used. So these shots all really need to go during this song, and they will obviously fill in a lot of the blanks. We are going to cut the audio over here, and I'm going to move everything together out. If you use A, you can select everything past that point. I'm going to move everything out, and I'm going to put it back eventually, but this segment here, I know I can move around now without impacting anything else. If you start moving things around, it will sometimes shift things over later on in the timeline, and you're going to come an hour later, you're doing a blessing, and all of a sudden the audio doesn't line up anymore, and we cannot have that happen. So let's dig into this. Okay, and we are going to begin assembling this. So we have here, oopsie. Okay, so the warp stabilizer does not seem like it's gonna work. Let's just try minimizing the stabilization a little bit. Okay, that might have done it. It wasn't a terrible clip to start with, so I always want to go back and check that it kind of worked. And that's definitely better than what we had before, and it's a nice shot, so it's going to stay in. And you just have to make sure when you watch through the clips that the clips make sense one after another. They tell the story. We're not just using the second camera as a crutch to fill things in. We're using the second camera to as an asset to help us tell the story. Okay, so now it's kind of important over here that after he comes up, we don't want to just jump to him putting on the white coat. We do want to have this second camera shot where you see them begin to put on the white coat. But I don't need that entire thing. So first I'm going to pick out the audio spots that I kind of need. So we need the guy saying the words. We don't need the few seconds of audio between. Okay, so we need that audio segment, and then we could skip the musical interlude and go to where the words start again. Alright, so remember, we're just cutting out audio over here. And yeah, we could cut out that second camera here too. Alright, we don't want to cut out the end of this track, but we can move video into there. Alright, and we'll get this shot of him starting to put on the coat, but I don't want that person walking across the screen. So we're just going to use that. And the music can actually start, and we're going to put a fade between them. The music can start a little closer. Right, this should go right here. And now this, we're going to pull them together. And again, a fade right here. And that's it. That sounds natural enough, so in it goes. Okay, so he's starting to... He's pulling something out of his pocket there. Let's just decide what we want next. A little exchange with the ring, but you see him start to close his buttons. And we're just trying to tell a story, so we want to change angles here, so we're going to go with this behind angle. And then we'll go back to the front. Alright, and now we could put in... We just got to make sure that the things actually work, so... Let's see. Okay, so right over here, the groom begins to turn around to face the crowd, so after that point we can use shots of him facing the crowd. Before that, we kind of need to stick with shots where he's facing away from the crowd. I'm going to use the second camera for a shot here. You see, we're not, we're using the second camera, but not just between every other shot. That's just plain overusing it. Alright, and I'm going to need that shot of him beginning to turn around. So we'll bring this. Now remember, we could move these kind of things around. There's no shots in here where we see people talking. Let's bring that in. Okay, and now that he's facing that way, now we can start using some of these other shots. So I like this wide sweeping shot that reveals the canopy. So we'll put that in. I'm really not quite worried about the audio here, so. And it's not close enough that we could actually see that the rabbi has walked away from behind him yet. So this shot works. Something shook there. The beginning of this clip was a teeny drop shaky. We'll take it out. And what can we put next? I don't want this to be too repetitive. That's grandmother walking down already. Let's see. This is a very close up. So then we could go to a kind of medium shot. Let's see. Let's see what that is. Another nice trick that we have is if a clip's a drop too short and we can't extend it, we could actually extend the rate of it, so the R tool. And as long as you don't mess with it too much, no one will notice that it's actually in slow motion. So the rate tool, just drag that out a little bit. I don't know why that's not working. See, rate tool, drag that out. Don't know why that's not working. Let's do it like this. Speed and duration will make it 90%. And then we can end off with this wide shot over here. And we just need that. And we could end with the second camera, and that works. Now we want to go straight into even though in actual real time the band stopped, we want it to appear more continuous. So I want to find a nice break in the music, and we're going to do an interesting trick here. You'll notice how just before the shot of her walking in, the crowd, you see that shot of the crowd standing up for her again. And that actually works a little nicer. That'll be a better shot than this plain shot, especially with me just running down the aisle over there. So we are going to make that the second camera shot that appears over here. So we just, well, I'll show you how we do that. We bring these two together. Let's make sure the audio clips work with one another. So we put a fade between them, and I find that it usually works a little better with the audio transition pulled all the way to the left, so it brings in the new song a little bit early. This is actually something bands will occasionally do live. The lead singer or the lead instrument will start playing the next song a second or two before the song actually begins. They're actually just informing the band what to play next. So we can create that same effect with a audio fade, but subconsciously a viewer will think that it sounds very natural. Let's just make sure it sounds good. go. That sounded good to me. And then I'm just going to drag this to here. So now, after this pan, this becomes the shot. And you'll see people begin to stand up. And the very next shot will show us why they're standing up and what they're standing up for. And that works perfectly. Let's see what else we have. So here they're walking down the aisle. And this next shot, they're coming around the bend. I'm just looking ahead at what I actually have. And I'm gonna decide how I want to use it to work. Over here, we could use shots of them walking down from the back. That works. Between this and this, I kind of need a break. I need something to cut to, and I don't really care to use the second camera if nothing's actually happening in it. So I'm going to jump ahead and I'm going to pull this clip of the groom, put that right there, and that will be the break between when they're further up the aisle and when they come around the bend. Let's see how that plays out. That's perfect. So it becomes a natural, we're non-linear editing, but it's a linear event. So we have to make sure to keep the story in order, but this specific clip actually helps us tell the story. It becomes an asset to the story. They're coming down the aisle. You could see a shot of the groom, and then a few seconds later, they're obviously further down the aisle. Now, they just finished turning the bend here, and they're already walking down. So I can't use the shot of them coming around the bend. I need the shot of them a little bit further down. And before, when the groom was walking down, I used this shot of him further down the aisle. So I'm going to use a closer one, and I kind of like the spot right here where these people are looking towards the person walking down the aisle. So, and we're going to go until I don't want the photographer walking into the shot. So we're going to use just this little portion right here. Alright, and because this is at a different angle, you're not going to really notice that we skipped them walking halfway down the aisle. And it doesn't help, it doesn't add to the story at all to show them from the back, because these are grandparents or great-grandparents, and, you know, years from now when people are looking back at this video, a shot from the back doesn't add anything to it. People want to see their faces, hear their voices. Well, in this case, just see their faces. So we're going to put this clip in here. And now I remember when I was going through it that I had a nice shot there of that grandfather. So here we have grandmother taking her seat. And again, it's non-linear editing, but we're keeping the story in order. So she goes to her seat, and then we see him smile. And that, right, but you do see him out of the corner there going towards his seat. Right. Now, this person here was actually not there yet. He walked down next, but you can't see his face. So, but we are gonna... But what we are going to do here is zoom it in just a drop, because I'd say 115, and move it over just enough that we can't actually see the person's face ever, because a relative for the bride and groom may actually notice that this was done out of order, and we'd rather avoid that if possible. Alright, the next shot I have is the next grandmother coming down. That works over here. The only question is if I possibly want to see them coming around the bend. But I think the shot of them from earlier kind of works. Let's see. Okay, here's a shot of that grandmother. So these are going to work as splitting up shots because I don't want to show this shot for as long as it's actually showing for. Let's actually trim some stuff over here. We're going to go to, starting over here is where the bride begins to walk down. So again, I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to cut the audio track so that I could keep track of what I'm moving on the timeline, because everything from this point on, I still want to keep lined up. You see right over here, there's a music point that's in sync, and the vocals are going to all be in sync. But this entire section here, I'm moving independently, and it won't affect anything else. So let's see. So we have them walking down. We have him. And then we could put the shot of the next set beginning to walk down. They did walk down to all the same song, so we're just going to continue in that song. This song doesn't have vocals to it, so it doesn't really matter which parts of it we use. So we're going to get the shot of them coming around the bend. And then the natural next thing to happen would be, as they come around the bend, people might look towards them. Right, especially you could even see here this grandmother as they come around the bend, she kind of looks towards them. So we're going to put that in there. Now, I don't want the spot of where the camera started out dark and then got brighter. Oh, except our only problem here. Okay, so we can't do that. This person who's walking down now is this person here, so that's going to be inconsistent. So instead, we're going to put this shot of the groom. And just briefly, just to break up the shot a little bit. And yep, and that kind of works, where this shot I want to use as, people looking as the bride's coming down. I think that will be useful, so we're just going to stick it in here. I've raised it to another track so I could find it easier in a minute. Again, these people are walking down. We'll keep the shot of them actually going to their seats. Let's find a good break in the music. Right over there is a break, just a natural stopping point. We could delete the rest of that shot. We could trim the music up till here, and now let's move on to the bride. So let's decide what our shot that follows this is going to be. So they just walk down. Here's a shot of him looking out for the bride. It might make sense to actually have the bride enter the room before we see him look up to her. So this shot, I think, will fit more naturally in here. Let's see. We're gonna make some adjustments here in a moment. I'm just listening to the music. Just listening to the music right now. I'm deciding which portions of it I actually want to use. Okay, so they sing the low part twice, and I'm definitely not going to need all this audio, so I'm going to start from where they have the nicer harmonies. So we'll trim the music right about there. I can't trim the video yet because I may actually need some of that video. right? And this is, that piece of audio is going to end up going right there. Let's just find where the next song begins. So here's a point where the band was still playing the old song, but the next event had started. There's going to be a similar blessing now, like we had for the groom. There's going to be another one for the bride. And we want that song to be playing as she's walking around. Right? And it starts right there. So this is an interesting exception where making the video better involves actually putting things in the wrong place, because in real time, the parents, the bride, the groom don't really necessarily think about what's going on. So what should have happened was the bride would walk almost to the end of the aisle, and then she would wait there, and as they begin the part about the blessing, she would walk under the canopy and begin circling the groom. In actuality, it doesn't always happen. So in this case, she reached the end of the aisle, and the band kept singing, and then she's already 3 circles in by the time they start singing the next song. And we have limited footage anyways of her going around in circles. Like everything, you know, we don't have as much as the song has. So by putting the parts of her going around in a circle in their proper place in the order of a wedding, which is while the blessing is being sung, we are actually helping us be able to use more of the audio of the blessing. So you'll see how that works in a minute, but okay, this is the last shot of the bride coming in. So we're gonna now put things back in order. So this entire segment, I want to keep all this footage lined up for right now. Alright. So this entire segment is going to be the bride walking down, and that all has to happen. See, here's a better example here. This entire segment is the bride walking down, and the audio for the bride walking down is this segment. So even if we did minimal editing and we just moved this over, we kind of helped ourselves fill things in. And because we don't actually see people talking, this works. If we would actually have a point anywhere on this where you would see the band playing or the singer singing, which does happen at a lot of weddings, I'll do that if, let's say, a sibling of the bride or groom is the one actually singing the song, so it becomes an important element and we try to catch it. So obviously we can move everything else around, but the part where you actually see him singing words would have to stay in the right spot. And hopefully I'll be able to do another video that goes over some of these exceptions and special considerations. The last shot we have here is Grandma and Grandpa going into their seats. The next thing I want is the bride beginning to come down. So again, I'm still keeping all this lined up. Let's see how this works. Let's put an audio fade. Even though the band actually does stop and start the new song, for the purpose of a video, it's going to work a little better with it fading one into another and going continuously. There are some cases where the band is so well rehearsed that they actually do this live. It does create a better sound. It creates a more continuous kind of video. Okay, I felt that was a little too fast. So let's see. Let's see what happens if we start that song a little bit earlier. I think that kind of works, so I'm going to go with that. I'm going to fiddle around with this transition. It's better over there. Let's just see how we can make it work. Okay, that works. This is an extremely dark clip. It's also a little bit of a shaky clip, and we're gonna try to make it work nonetheless. I love the shot of the people standing up into the camera. I don't think Warp Stabilizer is going to fix it, but we are gonna try. If it doesn't, then we're just gonna start the clip from this point here. So let's kind of see what happens. Let's give it a second. If it fixes it, great. If not, we're gonna get rid of it. The Warp Stabilizer does need a very powerful computer. I had this problem for a long time, till about 4 months ago. I upgraded my whole machine, but this whole thing just took less than 30 seconds on a computer that's not up to par with today's editing. That's going to take a couple minutes, and then it won't play smoothly afterwards. And the fact that it turned yellow up here tells me that the computer has pre-rendered it and it's ready to play it in real time. On an older computer or computer with a graphics card that's not as good, this will remain red and it will not play smoothly. So it might have done it. I think that's gonna work. I'm looking, well, just that very first second you kind of see that little warp effect. But if we just start the clip from right there, I think we kind of get rid of that. And yes, you know, it's a technically imperfect shot. It's crooked. It's well, crooked we could fix. Let's fix crooked. So first we're gonna find the point where it goes back to proper. So right over here, we're gonna make a keyframe for the position, the scale, and the rotation. Now we're gonna go back to the beginning of the clip, and I'm gonna start by adjusting the rotation to get it to where I want it. Now we have the edges of the clip are showing, so we're gonna zoom in, and sometimes you also need to play with the position, which is why I made a keyframe, but in this case it doesn't look like I need to. The only problem now is that the Warp Stabilizer does appear to be a little bit more warped than before. Let's see what happens if we minimize that. So let's partially just make it less stable. The other thing I could try is go from smooth motion to no motion. No, that definitely doesn't work. Let's try making it more stable. We'll go to 75% and see what that does. I'm okay with that. I'm content with that clip. It's important enough that I'm gonna consider the clip usable. If this wasn't a clip I really wanted to use, I would not bother with this. But because it's you know, I think if we add more keyframes, we could fix it. If we just, so over here, the rotation, oops, wrong clip. Over here, it just needs a little bit of a different rotation, and I wonder what would happen if I didn't make the scale zoom back out. See, I could sit here and, let's see, right over here, this is still smooth. Over here, it's getting back crooked. Let's take an extra few seconds and let's actually see how perfect we can make this. So every time we kind of see the rotation peak and start going the other direction, we're gonna make a keyframe and put it back straight. And that might have done it. Let's see. So we've done what the warp stabilizer is supposed to have done. We just did it manually, and let's reanalyze and make sure that this whole clip still works. Sit there and use zoom, rotation, and position to manually stabilize. That's essentially what the warp stabilizer does. We are just helping it out over here a little bit. And I do think it made a big difference, and it turned the shot. We're going to get rid of all the effects in a minute, and we're going to kind of see the difference. The only thing is that now you still see the standing up. Now it just kind of looks like a handheld shot. We're going to go back now to what we had originally. And I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised. So we're getting rid of the warp stabilizer, and we're getting rid of our motion. This is the original clip, right? You kind of see me walking into position, right, as the people stand up. And now with those effects on, I keep doing that. Let's turn that effect back on, and that effect back on, and now it kind of just looks like a shaky clip. You know, a handheld kind of shaky. Which is usable. I'm okay with that. Okay, so let's begin this segment with that shot of the bride entering the room. So we're going to select this all. I still want to keep it as perfectly lined up as possible. What we've created here is that the band actually starts playing the music as these people are taking their seats, so it sort of introduces us to the next thing. Now another thing I kind of like here, I'm going to cut this one a little short so that it, again, we'll analyze. Whenever you adjust a clip that was warp stabilized, it needs to be analyzed, and you'll see that by having this red mark over the top. At the end of a full edit, you'll kind of be able to jump through, find those red marks, and just make sure that everything kind of works with them. I happen to think that this is really nice. This far shot of the groom looking will be a nice lead up to this close shot of the groom looking. So let's see what we have here. Okay, so we're going to move these two over. And I like that that last guy stood up. That kind of works for me. So, right, that's beautiful. The reveal. But I don't want it. Right over here, she's just coming out of the doors. And by the time this next clip starts, she's got to be a little further from the doors already. So let's just think how we're going to do this. Okay, I have an idea. That certainly works over there. Okay, but I really like that far shot, even if just for a second. So, alright, so this is essentially a wide and a close that work together. And now we'll put this. And then we'll go to this part here. I want her to be a little further away from the doors at that point already. Right, and at that point she's further down the aisle already, and at this point she's coming around the bend. And here we have that shot of everyone looking, and we're just gonna make believe they're looking at the bride. So let's decide where we want to use that. That shot can break up any of these clips. They're looking down the aisle, so it kind of makes sense that she should already be in the aisle. So let's see if this goes well here. That works, because it's hard to tell. I mean, you could tell, because I'm pointing it out to you, that she's actually reaching the end of the aisle. Let's see. And you see her holding hands. It's a, a little bit of an emotional gesture. I don't want to completely get rid of this clip yet, in case I want to use the rest of it later. This is going to be a point where I kind of do want to use that second camera. And that we have the second camera, I do intend to use it. I just don't want it to be a crutch, and you're gonna keep hearing me say that again and again. As long as it's not being used just to fill in blank space for no reason. Tell the story. That's all we gotta do. We are storytellers. Okay, so I want the shot of him looking, and then you sort of see the smile out of the corner of his eye, and I want that. I don't necessarily need the spot in between, and now I'm going to use this. Right, you see her smiling and looking. So we're going to put this. And as she's coming down the aisle, we'll make people okay. I don't want this part of that shot, so we're gonna use the slide tool and get a point with that kid not in there. So let's try that, and let's just make sure it kind of works. I mean, she's technically walking over the same part of the aisle twice. But the perspective is a little bit hard to tell, so we're gonna let it go. Right, meaning over here she's further down the aisle. So one trick, just to be able to fool the viewer, is we're gonna zoom in a little bit. You don't want to make a habit of this, but it's gonna work over here, and it makes it much harder to tell how far away she is from the canopy. Smile, that's beautiful. It could be I could stabilize it. It also could be that by stabilizing it we're gonna lose that. So we're gonna find out right now. That is a priceless shot, and we're gonna let that shot go all the way through, regardless of whether it stabilizes or not. We have the groom smiling, the bride stepping up, and then the two of them smiling at each other. That is being used regardless. That's something that a bride and a groom watching their video later on, it doesn't matter how bad that piece of footage is. They are always going to smile for the rest of their lives when they see that. And that's something we can't skip. My warp stabilizer says 30 seconds left. I don't have a good feeling about this one. Let's see, 20 seconds. It's analyzing every bit of footage. It basically makes marker points, and then it adjusts the crop and the position and rotation to keep those marker points in the same spot. I might be pleasantly surprised. Let's play through the whole clip. We're just trying to make sure that we don't see any of that like underwater kind of stuff. The technology behind Adobe is unbelievable, because let's just go back for a second and turn off the warp stabilizer. Here's the original clip, usable, but certainly a handheld shaky shot. And now, let's turn it back on. It's still not perfect, but it is much, much better. And I had said in the last video that I wasn't necessarily going to use the flower exchange over there, but I think I kind of like, I'm going to try and see what happens without it, but I do think, I think that this clip being super long, in this case adds, sometimes when you have something extremely emotional, showing it for longer just increases that emotion. So we're gonna try. We also have the caterer walking in front, so we're gonna see what happens if we disable this clip. And let's just it's just not, it doesn't speak to me as much. There are problems with this shot. You know, you see her handing off the bouquet of flowers, and then you see the caterer walking in front of my shot. But there's something about the suspense of this shot as the bride comes up that just can't be matched, and that's it. I feel that this entire shot, I'm actually getting chills watching this. So we're gonna go with that in the way the music flows with it. You know, the music actually gets a little more emotional as she walks up, and I'm happy I did that because that's something I wanted to stabilize. We're gonna do a big review at the end where I'm gonna do color correction and stabilizing things. The only time I'm adding the stabilizer now already is by things that I'm nervous it won't work for, because if I'm gonna choose to take that clip out, I kind of want to know about it now. And here's a case where the warp stabilizer works absolutely perfectly. This clip, I think, also is gonna need it. And it's not gonna hurt to put it on this clip too. So we're gonna just watch what happens. I'm just waiting for the red over there to go away. And it's not gonna hurt to save my work now, and let's see how it plays. So this is really nice. This is borderline over here. Let's try minimizing the stabilization. It's doing that warp thing that you don't really want a warp stabilizer to do. So we're gonna have to take this off, and that's gonna have to be a little bit of a handheld shot. I don't know. It is making a big difference. How about if we zoom in? Zooming in creates a little bit more of an emotional shot, so that doesn't work for me. We're just gonna have to leave it shaky. I really want that shot in there. Okay, we're gonna leave it. It's a quick shot. second camera just gives us what takes place immediately after she walked up. Which in this case is nothing really. I mean, we could find the point where they actually begin to go around. So here the moms are grabbing hands, and see, right over there they start walking around. So if I'm going to use anything from the second camera, it's going to be right here. So she'll walk up, you see the dad walk away, and then you'll see the moms begin to walk around. I'm okay with the fact that you don't see them actually grabbing hands over there. Now one of the easiest ways to edit this part is just to let it be. Kind of just let them go around in circles, and just let the cop out would be use the footage that's usable and everything else use the second camera. I could keep saying it again and again. I don't feel like we are doing our jobs as 21st century cinematographers by just using the second camera. That's old-fashioned. Imagine if you had two reels of film and you were rolling them both through with the old-fashioned decks, and you would just be choosing between the two. We don't have to do that anymore. We can move music around, we can move clips around, we can use what we've captured to enhance the story, not just to play it back. So we're going to find a good spot to cut the audio. Right over there is the natural cut point, and it'll actually work perfectly to start the blessing, because the very first words of the blessing literally translate to welcome. In this case, welcome the bride. I just want to see if we could do anything a little better. Okay, I was going to look if the second round of that humming sort of came to a bit more of a closing, but it doesn't, so we're going to end that there. And now we have over here the beginning of the blessing. And in this case, I might actually need to do a fade out and a fade back in. We're going to see, so I've cut it at the end of this blessing, and we're going to put that here, and I don't know for sure if fading between the two is going to work, simply because this last track was on such a high, almost in the middle of something. We're going to tweak it a little bit and see what happens. That might work. Let's see what happens if we make them fade into each other a little bit more, so that the end of the song kind of is this fade. And we'll drag that a little bit further in, and I don't want to hear them begin the next part, so that's going to go until there. I think that's going to work. Let's see. That'll work. It's a live event, and it's quite likely that, you know, the band might have actually stopped there because they realized that she reached the canopy. So okay, save our work and keep moving. So, I just need to check something here. Okay. Okay, so all this is her going around in circles. In actual real time, they walk around 7 times. By the time we condense this a little bit, if you would actually sit there and count how many times you see her go around, it's not going to be 7. But as long as it's not, 2 or 3, nobody's going to sit there and actually count it. As long as we make it seem natural and seem realistic, and that it was at least a few, nobody's going to call us out on it. So, right, we have them starting to go around. And we just want to make sure that clips line up. So over here, they're just beginning to go around the right side. So it makes no difference now what order I put these clips in, as long as they all add up. So remember, the groom is facing away and they're coming around the right side. So over here, he's facing that way and they're coming around the right side. So that works as a first shot, and I don't have to use this entire shot here. So alright, we're going to skip this musical interlude. So we want that welcome line. Then we're going to skip the musical interlude. Find where they start the words. The words are the important part. Right over there is where they start the words. And I notice something interesting here. I don't even need a fade to make it work. That works without a fade, so we're not going to mess with it. Alright, so if I am going to use this whole clip, so they sort of come around the front of him, they're back around to the audience side. Alright, in this clip they don't see their faces, so I don't necessarily want this to be the next clip. Let's see. So I could go from here, they're back around to the front, into this clip where they're also in the front, going around again from a different angle, but I feel like it's almost the same shot again. So we're gonna look for something else. How about maybe something like that? I think that'll work. This clip here, you don't see them going around, so it's coming out. We're not using it for anything. Right, so they're in the front, and we just want to make sure it's consistent. So, coming around. Alright, so this ends with them on the opposite side of the audience. So our next clip, now this clip right here can actually go anywhere, because you can't really tell where they are at that point. This one here, they're actually coming around the front. So let's try that. And just to make the cuts with the music, we're gonna cut that there. And just remember, we do have the second camera. So I think, we've had a few clips from the main camera, so I think we could go to the second camera. So again, they're coming around the front over here. So let's just make sure to have them actually come around the front when we put in that shot of the second camera. Right, now they're on the right side. that one, they are in fact on the right side. That's a really nice close-up. Let's kind of see what else we have. We'll venture further on. What are we looking for here? They're ending off on the right side. This one, they are on that side. That's a great B-roll shot. This one, they're on the left side. And over here already, they are standing together. Oh, so in this shot here, you see them finish going around, right? You see her stop. So this will have to be that last shot. So now I think they're on the right side. We are going to use that one. Right, they're coming around the front. Now they're in the front of him. I think it's time to use that close-up shot of their hands. No, not ready for that yet. Where did we end off here? They're about to turn the corner on the left side. So this shot fits. Alright, the only problem is that you could tell that they're already past where the groom was standing. So we're just going to trim that to a point where they're actually past the groom so that it works and it's consistent. And now I think we could use that hand shot. Alright. Now the nice thing about this exact shot is that a viewer will kind of lose track of where the people are. So the actual thing, you could actually tell, you see they're actually coming around his front, but it's okay. It's I'm picking up on that as a filmmaker. I don't think a viewer will actually pick up on that. But I did kind of find a and we'll put sister over here. This has to be our last shot, and it starts with them coming around the front of the groom. So I think this will be perfect. Because this shot ends with them about to come around the front. We'll put in, just to drag it out a little bit longer. Alright, we'll put one more time that second camera. And then this, and in this shot they have to be just finishing coming around the front. It's just a beautiful cinematic shot. I think it's going to add a little bit to have a quick shot, because they do stop, but it's hard to see what took place. It actually helps you see the mom walk to the other side, because more thing we could do is we could split up these clips. That's great. I think all these clips are going to benefit from a warp stabilizer. So let's see what happens. Now, normally at this point I would review this entire segment. We sort of did it in piecemeal and put it back together, and it's kind of helpful to run through it in your mind and just watch it as a viewer might. I'll blow it up to full screen. I'm not going to do that in this screen recording right now, because we will be doing it during a review of the whole video when we color correct. But this would be a great time to just blow this up to full screen. You can actually do that in Premiere. The button on the keyboard that's above tab, like this, will blow up something to full screen, and just watch it as a viewer and make sure it works. So we just added a warp stabilizer to a few clips, and let's make sure they are actually stable. That's gorgeous. I mean, the shot is unbelievable. We're going to add a little contrast and color correcting. And that one can do without the stabilizer. That's it. And we got our shots. Okay. The only other thing we're going to do is we're going to edit the music so that it actually ends at this point. It's going to work perfectly because the guy did sing the high part twice. So we're just going to watch what we're going to do. We're going to be a little DJ over here, music editing. Right, so we're going to find, I just cut it at a point in the second high. I'm going to find that exact same point in the first high. Right here. We're going to just stick that in there, and let's make sure it works. That is very, very close to perfect. So let's shift the cut point back and forth a little bit till we actually make it perfect. If we put a fade so that we sort of, he starts talking a second before, let's see. That's it. That is very natural sounding. Let's just listen to it. Alright, we'll go back a few seconds and listen to the whole thing. I think he would have naturally started there. Let's see. No. We're going to try moving the cut point the other way. So let's try to get a different word. Let's try that. That kind of works, I think. That works. sounds. Okay, so this music is ending back here. Now we get into the whole next part of the ceremony. So let's trim that down to here. This is our beginning and everyone walking down. It's not attached to the rest of the wedding yet, which is okay. We could actually go ahead and attach it now. So I want this segment to fade out. I'll bring this in. I want this segment to fade back in. Yes, you can just use the dip to black. And we're going to look for a nice point where we can cut the music. Let's see what happens if we kind of cut it there. And we're going to put in a fade, and a very slow fade will be beneficial here. That works. When you're going from a drastic, change of fast music to extremely slow and calm music, the longer fade tends to help. There's a clip that could benefit from a stabilizer. Okay, so I'm happy I just did that because I'm going to show something. If you adjust the speed, which we did over here, this was that clip that we had made 90%, you can't stabilize it. So the way to fix that is to just nest it, and then you can stabilize the nested sequence. I find that the stabilizer has less of a chance of working when you do this, but obviously sometimes you have to. There we go. That works. And a lot of these clips are going to end up getting stabilized. We'll get to that later. Okay. Now we've finished the walking down and singing part of the ceremony. The next part of the ceremony is the actual ceremony, the blessings and the... Let's kind of see what we have here. Why don't we hear anything? I should be hearing from this.
Baruch atah Adonai.
I don't know why that happened, but okay. Now we actually did something accidental over here, so we're gonna fix that. I need this audio track over here for the blessings. So let's just see.
Mekadesh Amo Yisrael al yedei Chupa v'kiddushin.
It actually has a really nice kind of reverb. Okay, now let's just see. Let's get to where the blessing starts, and we're just gonna put that back over this. And
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu
I don't
melech.
want to be hearing double sound. Okay. All right. I actually think we're going to stop this recording at this point. It's already been going for an hour and a half. And